Welcome to Mama Tusa, Conversations with a Midwife. I'm your host, Atusa Benji. A quick note before today's episode. This show talks about birth, life, death, and all the complexities in between. My goal is always to share stories that leave you feeling empowered, but please know that some topics may be challenging or deeply moving. Also, while I'm an experienced midwife, I'm not your midwife, and the information on this podcast is not intended to be medical advice. Please consult your healthcare provider when considering what is best for you as an individual. Now, without further ado, I hope you enjoy the show. Hello, and welcome to the Mama Tusa podcast. I'm so excited to have you both on. It's been a couple of months. We've been trying to make our calendars collide. My guests today are Ronit and Vida from WeNatal. I know you're busy. I know we all have kids and we're running around town. So for you to carve out couple of hours to talk to me is just so special and so generous. So thank you. How did we meet each other? I'm trying to think. Were we on social?
Oh, first of all, we're so honored to be here.
Thank you.
So for you to carve out 2 hours to talk to us is an honor.
Totally.
So that's number one.
My pleasure.
I think we met around the time that we were launching our kosher prenatal. And I got a list from my various friends at Chabad of Pacific Palisades of like, who are the influencers that we should invite to our kosher launch event? And you were on that list. And that's how we met. And it was like love at first sight when you got there.
I feel like I've known you forever.
I remember sitting with you at that lunch and I just felt like we've known each other forever.
Yeah.
We run in so many circles. And by the way, we should clarify, influencers for us are like true experts in the field, people who have a love and a following and they trust you for what you're in this world doing. And that's why we love and admire. And just hearing about your 23 years, probably more years, bringing babies into this world. It's so inspiring.
Yeah, I was 7 when I started. Can you believe it?
You look amazing. Yes.
Thank you. I just celebrated my 30th. Sort of, 30 plus. It was so inspiring for me to be there because what I heard was, and I knew nothing about you, so I started doing a little bit of, reconnaissance. Like, who are these girls? What are they doing? Where do they come from? And the first thing I noticed was that you have a brand that you're launching, and it's now the kosher version of the vitamin. And I want to talk about the vitamin, but you all met at Nike.
Yep.
So you were in the corporate world before you actually came into sort of the birth world, the fertility world. Tell me about corporate Nike.
Yeah, we met close to 20 years ago.
Wow.
We were young single ladies in LA. We actually were one of very few Jewish people in that office and we just fell in love. We're so similar. We come from similar backgrounds. We were in our young dating single life together and climbing the corporate ladder. And so it was a very fun time. We literally kind of grew up together in LA as it felt like sisters. We would go out, we would learn, we would grow. And so our relationship started purely at work. Little did you know, it was never in our, manifestation that we were going to open a supplement brand. It was truly life taking its turns like many founders. And we knew we owed it to ourselves and everyone behind us to do something about what we found out. And so the story of WeNatal really started at us being friends. And then, close to 8 years ago, I was at Nike running global corporate events, literally planning every single detail, every precision that goes into making these events amazing and for athletes to have the best outcome. And so I was built to think through the details and how every little thing can make a difference in the final outcome. And so the ironic part comes that when I was prepping for pregnancy, I literally thought me and my husband were young enough, we're healthy, we should just try. I skipped all the prep. And lo and behold, I passed the first trimester, went in, told both set of grandparents it was going to be the first grandchild on each side. Got super excited. I also believed that, after the first trimester, you're in the clear. And sadly for me, at a 14-week visit, I saw my OBGYN's face drop. I saw the room go silent and I heard those words that no future parent wants to hear. And he just looked at me and said, "I'm so sorry. There's no heartbeat." It was that moment that my world collided. I didn't even think it was possible. I thought I was past the safe zone. And I remember crying so much my jaw ached. And literally all he told me was handed me a pamphlet and said, try again when you're ready. It's very common. And I took that as truth. But lucky for me, my best friend was Ronit, and she was working alongside Dr. Mark Hyman at this point. And so she came from the functional medicine background, and she really encouraged me to look deeper. She's like, there's got to be more to this story. Have you thought about checking your thyroid? Have you looked into X, Y, and Z? And so even though my labs were quote unquote normal, they were not optimal. Nope. And I found out, thanks to her, that I had Hashimoto's. I worked on fixing that with diet, lifestyle. And lo and behold, I had my daughter Dahlia, who's now 8. And I thought the nightmare was over, except fast forward.
My jaw's on the floor.
Yeah, it was very empowering, learning to take control of your own health. And even though things are all saying normal, there's more to the story oftentimes, and there's more that we can do. And so in early 2020, unbeknownst to me, we were both trying for our seconds and literally thought now I knew what to do. I did the prenatal care. I took the vitamins she told me to take. I call her my Dr. Ronit. She's usually my first phone call away. I went in for another routine checkup only to get that same awful, horrifying outcome. And so again, I took it as like, this is common. This must just happen. The only thing that changed this time was Ronit, 1 week later, called me, and the same thing happened to her. And there we were, like 2 best friends. She had the perfect prenatal care routine and 0 satisfying answers. We knew something was up.
Yeah. And in my case, back then I was 41 years old, and my doctor just looked at me and said, it's your age. There's nothing you could do. Just keep trying. And that didn't sit well with me. Like, it didn't make sense that there's nothing I could do to improve my fertility, to improve my chances. Here I am working in functional medicine, and we talk about optimization and longevity. It just didn't make sense. And so I didn't listen to my doctor, and I started to do the research, and I reached out to every single doctor, nutritionist, fertility expert that was in my network. And I learned something that shocked me. And when I say it now, I'm just like, I can't believe that this was so shocking, because it's so intuitive and it makes so much sense. But back then, I remember thinking like, wow, like I never heard this information in my life. And what that was is that men contribute to 50% of pregnancy success, pregnancy outcomes, miscarriage, and that men can drastically improve their sperm quality with diet and lifestyle. And here we were scrutinizing everything we ate. The fact that we were type A and working around the clock. Like, I literally asked my doctor, is it because I'm working on Dr. Hyman's book launch right now and I'm super stressed? Or is it because I went sledding with my older daughter, Eden? Is it because I was on an airplane? Like,
what did I do? What am I doing?
I literally thought it was me. So what we decided to do is take this information, and with our husbands together, we committed to 3 months of trimester 0. So what that meant for us was we really cleaned up just like our diet, our lifestyle, invested in movement, just like a little more. Like you for the most part, we eat clean. We do all these things. We were on what we thought was like a clean prenatal, but we kind of like added a bunch of things to it that were missing. And for our husbands, they also committed to taking like a nutrient stack that we pieced together for them with things like CoQ10, NAC, alpha lipoic acid, all of these things that we know and now are in our men's formula improve sperm quality. And we basically, and for me, I also did acupuncture a couple times a week. And 3 months later, I got pregnant with Emma on my first try, and I gave birth to her 4 days after my 42nd birthday. And then Vida gave birth to her daughter, Davina, 3 months after me. So our little experiment of trimester 0 for both couples worked, and we knew we were on to something, and we just couldn't keep this to ourselves. Like, we knew that we had to talk about the importance of trimester 0 and preparing for pregnancy, the way that you prepare for a marathon, the way that you prepare for your wedding,
for sure,
the way that you prepare your nursery. we need to prepare for trimester 0 conception because
man.
this is the biggest gift you can give your child because it's the blueprint for their entire life. That became our mission. And, you know, when I think back to my loss, yes, it was painful. Yes, it was sad. It was the first time in my life where I really felt trauma. But now in retrospect, we launched WeNatal 3.5 years ago. We have supported over 30,000 families. We have people that DM us every single day with their WeNatal babies. Just on the way here, a friend was texting us a video of her baby. Like, we want you to come over and, you know, hang out with our WeNatal baby.
WeNatal baby.
I think back to my loss and I'm grateful for that soul that came into our lives for such a short time because without that loss, we would have never created a brand that could support and empower so many couples.
I actually just had Dr. Sahar Wertheimer on the show, and she told me the same statistic that 50% is from the man's side of the chemistry of this conception and infertility. But she said that 30% of the time, it's actually the man that is, it's the sperm that is the cause of the infertility and not the egg. I think culturally, for us, it's always been like, the term is like, like she wouldn't get pregnant. It's almost like it's on her, like she wouldn't get pregnant. And
Exactly.
it's so powerful because even as a child, I never heard they were never able to have children.
Right.
It was she never got pregnant. Which puts so much on the woman, right?
Literally couldn't have said it better myself. And I remember where I was, what I was wearing, what I was doing when Ronique called me to talk about the men being half of the equation. It stopped me dead in my tracks. I had chills. I was like, how could it be that I've had multiple losses? My husband is living his best life, drinking, smoking, eating whatever he wants.
Right.
And I was scrutinizing down to what shampoo I use.
Yeah, your laundry detergent,
literally.
right? Yeah.
And no one even asked him a single question.
Totally.
And we hear about countless families who are going through IVF and invasive procedures, and the male's not even checked. And so it begs the question that the society and the history, why are we placing the burden on women when it is takes two to tango?
Absolutely.
And coming from a culture similar to you as a Persian female, where you don't talk about the men and what they're doing. It's very much the burden is on the female.
Absolutely.
And even my own stories of multiple losses, I didn't even know my own mother had miscarriages. It was only when I had my loss that she opened up to me about hers. And so it has been so therapeutic for me to talk about loss and help those women behind me, because when I had my first one, I literally thought I was like the only human on planet. I just didn't hear people talk about it.
Yeah, which is so isolating.
It's so isolating.
I think even shame, even guilt, isolation.
I felt all of those things.
And then anger. Like, why didn't anyone tell me? I hear that a lot in women's health, that why didn't anyone tell me? So why didn't anyone tell me that breastfeeding is a learned behavior and I'm not going to just put my baby to my nipple and it's going to be super easy? It's a learned behavior. We watch other elders do it and we learn from them, except we don't anymore because our families are so isolated. Why did no one tell me that I might get a UTI on my honeymoon, because once you start having a lot of sex in a row, you're more prone to having a UTI. Then when I take antibiotics, I might get a yeast infection. And then when I get a yeast infection, I'm more like, we don't talk about it. It's just not talked about. For me, it was, why did no one tell me that having a child was going to change my life forever? Did I miss that memo? And by the grace of God, I've wanted each pregnancy, adore my kids, always wanted to be a mom. Thank God I'm a grandma now. But why did no one sit me down and be like, hey, honey, let's have a conversation. I want you to know that after you have a baby, this is how it's going to look. It's just it's almost like we're thrown in the deep end and it's like, I'm here, honey, swim, swim, you'll make it. I got you. But why didn't you tell me how deep it was?
I mean, another big one that we hear all the time from our community is women don't even know when they're ovulating. I think you have obviously you have a period for so many years before you try to conceive, and yet you don't even know the signs of ovulation. And I know that for me, with my first daughter, Eden, it took me about a year to figure out, you're like, oh, I'll just use an app. And then you realize, wait, something's not working. Could it not, and I think like that lack of education starts early on. Women should learn about the importance of their cycle, the importance of the phases of their cycle, when they're ovulating, what that looks like.
Absolutely. When I teach the 5th grade kids, so I teach a 5th grade girls program, 5th grade to 7th grade, I really started it because I was having 35-year-old CEOs of companies come to my childbirth classes. And when we talked about like vaginal fluids or water breaking or things like that, words like gross and ew and I don't want to, or you could use a mirror during childbirth. Ew, gross. I don't want to look. If we can change the ew, gross. And so I was like, where am I going to change this ew, gross? Let me go back to the very beginning with puberty and actually tell little girls that you can like look in the mirror. Mm-hmm. You can look at your own body parts before a doctor does or a lover does, or God forbid someone's inappropriate. And that shouldn't be the first time you have that exposure. You should know your body. And you would not believe that in the year 2025, I still got pushback from people that were like, what, did you use like that word in class? Like, I'm like, what word? That is the word for that part of the body. Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, but it's so like, it's too much. I'm like, what's too much? It's a biological word for that part of the body. It's scientific. And we're still not super ready for it. Mm-hmm. We're still not super ready for it. And I believe that a lot of the trauma that happens during conception, during pregnancy, during labor and delivery, why do we have this crazy percentage of trauma after you have a baby? Yes, some of it is inherent. A human coming out of your body is to some extent traumatic. It's like, whoa, what?
Yeah.
Right?
Totally.
And in any of the footage that you see of people giving birth, whether abdominally by C-section or vaginally, most of them are like, look up to the sky, like, whoa, what just happened? Yes, hopefully small t trauma. But why so much trauma when you ask women about their birth and they're like, it was terrible. I don't recommend it. I don't like it. I want to schedule C-section next time. You think a scheduled C-section is not going to be traumatic? It's going to have its own things because we're not asking questions. And so much of it is left to us. Like, it's the most normal thing in the world. You'll be fine. And as Dr. Neil Shah says, I always quote him, healthy mommy, healthy baby. And then we drop the mic. No, yes, thank God. Healthy mommy, healthy baby. But what about the journey? Yeah. That conception is the beginning of your motherhood journey. It's not even at labor and delivery. It's at the conception that you're beginning to feel about your body and your ability as a woman, and how shocking and sad and out of left field it is when you're doing everything right, you're crossing everything off, and it still doesn't go according to plan. It's devastating. So it's interesting because I know that in our culture, again, because we're all of the same culture, there was a time where they ran a sperm count on men before they got married. Did you know this?
I didn't
And this
know
even
this.
happened in my generation. I got married in 1990. I think I was probably like last of that group who does that. Maybe in some cultures they still do. I know some cultures do carrier screenings to make sure that the genetics are okay, especially in groups where
like
certain things are more
Jews
Ashkenazi Jews, or certain groups where there's like thalassemias and anemias and things like that. But they used to do sperm counts.
I did not know this.
During the engagement period, they did a sperm. You didn't know? Oh,
This
yeah.
is great. They should still do it.
Yeah, they did sperm counts, but the thing was that they didn't have the technology to do like sperm quality. Mm-hmm. So it's one thing to have the count, but if you don't have motility and you don't have quality, you might have a lot of sperm that's actually not going to go very far.
The thing with sperm quality is it's very sensitive to oxidative stress. You get oxidative stress from like the foods you eat, from lack of movement, from stress in general, from sitting. And so antioxidants like in vitamin C and all of that reverse that oxidative stress that in turn impact like the DNA, and it can impact motility and all of these things.
The other thing that is so interesting, which we don't really talk much about, is there are genetic components from the sperm that affect the pregnant woman's pregnancy and the baby. Yes. So preeclampsia, a couple of things. One, if the man's mother had preeclampsia, the woman he impregnated is more likely to have preeclampsia.
I didn't know that, but
wild?
I did know that men and sperm quality somehow are associated with preeclampsia. There's some research that's done in, I think it's like done in mice regarding the placenta and
Correct.
sperm quality.
Exactly
and
right.
I will say, with my second pregnancy, I had preeclampsia, and guess who I blamed again?
Yes.
Like you know, again, and back then I didn't know much about preeclampsia. And to be honest, I'm grateful that I didn't know that much about preeclampsia, because when I got, you know, the diagnosis right away, I was rushed in to get induced. And I wasn't like that nervous about it, because I was just like, okay, I mean, I know Kim Kardashian had preeclampsia, but they're taking care of me. I'm getting this magnesium. They're going to induce me and I'll be fine. But yeah, I mean, preeclampsia is linked to sperm quality. And so when we talk about improving sperm quality, and, you know, my dad a couple of years ago passed away suddenly. And like one of the last conversations I had with him before he died is like, he's like, you know, I never realized you'd be talking about sperm so much.
I love that.
I listened to all of your content. I listened to all of your podcasts.
So
and I never, you know, you talk about sperm a lot. And the reason why I talk about sperm so much is this.
Yes.
Because it's not just about getting to that positive pregnancy test. That's not the finish line. It's really about creating a blueprint for a healthy pregnancy for the child's entire life. And men have this incredible ability to regenerate sperm.
Yes.
Like if us as women, if we could just regenerate eggs on an ongoing basis, okay, no big deal. It would be another story. But men can regenerate sperm. And so essentially, in 3 months, men can completely transform their sperm quality with diet and lifestyle. And that's why we're so passionate about this. They're really the superhero of the fertility equation, but they're kind of like hidden in plain sight. Nobody knows about it.
Addressing it.
And that's kind of why our journeys have led us to this passion.
I have so many questions for you, but did you also know that the chance of preeclampsia goes up when a woman is having a child with a new partner? So what happens is every time the sperm of a man goes inside of you over and over and over and over again, your body creates a protection to whatever is wrong with that sperm. So your body almost is like, all right, these are foreign cells, but we're okay with them. The body like starts to almost have an immune response to accept them. Once the body recognizes that now foreign DNA is going inside, the chance of preeclampsia goes up because the body no longer has that protection that it had from the first partner.
Oh, wow.
So there's things that the woman's body is also doing in response to the sperm at the immune level. And that also affects the conception at the placenta level, which is why IVF pregnancies have different outcomes at the placenta level than old-fashioned conception.
Yeah. And I think to that point, there's so much that we still don't know about fertility. And there's so much that we're discovering every day with like new studies. And I think it's just important to keep like talking about it and sharing like the latest research. And I don't know, I think that's what makes us tick every single day.
And we're not even at the tip of the iceberg. I feel like we're hovering on top of it. Like we see the iceberg and we're not even at the top yet. There's so much to get to. So what does a typical WeNatal supplement regimen look like for trimester 0?
So basically we have our initial products were a prenatal for her and a separate formula prenatal for him. And those are 3 capsules a day. You could take them together. You could split it between breakfast and lunch. We recommend it with like a good meal. But essentially, WeNatal for her has 24 bioavailable ingredients. And it's every single one of those has clinical research behind it, has dosages that are bioavailable, meaning no matter what your genetics are, you could absorb it. And what we realized actually is our initial concept was a prenatal for him. And we thought the world had enough prenatals. They don't need another one. But when you pull back the covers, we did the research. We realized actually there's quite a few. They fall into 2 camps. One, there's some that are very expensive, found through clinicians' offices, a lot of times so many capsules and maybe hard to obtain, very expensive. Those are the ones we were taking, and I couldn't stomach 10, 12 pills a day because we were adding so many things to it. On the other camp, there was the more accessible brands, maybe found at a convenience or drugstore. The dosages were not enough to make a difference. There was maybe not the right forms. And then what's even scarier is there's a whole paragraph of additives, fillers, colors, binders, all these things that should never, ever be.
All the things you're trying not to do when you're having,
exactly.
when you're trying to be pregnant.
And so we realized actually there is an opportunity to reinvent this space in general and create a high potent dosage, clean prenatal for her and him, and treat it like a team sport. Treat it like both partners putting their best foot forward for this 3 to 6 months before conception, and really empower people. Like, our brand is all about empowerment over fear and creating community over isolation, because so much of what we dealt with, we felt like we were the only ones. We felt like there's nothing you could do. We were told, just keep trying, it's just your age or it's stress. But once we realize the research, there's a lot you can do. And we want to give people that optimism that we spent years with our medical board uncovering.
Can you give me an example of a filler?
Oh my gosh, there are literally so many colors and binders, and like the best thing to do is to look on your nutrition facts.
Yeah.
And then below the nutrition facts, it says additional ingredients. And like in our case, there are no additional ingredients. Some cleaner prenatals will have like a rice husk or something like that in there, and manufacturers use it so that it's easier to manufacture. But that's like the clean ones. You'll look at some prenatals like a 1 a day, or some, some basic ones that you find like at a CVS. It will have a paragraph of things that I can't like even read what they are. So things that you don't recognize. So here
like
you are.
14 syllable chemicals.
Exactly. Mm. I mean, you're like scrutinizing everything you're eating. You're not eating tuna because you don't want the mercury, this, that. But then it has like colors and fillers and all of these things. And companies do it for ease of manufacturing, for shelf life. Our shelf life for WeNatal is 2 years. And that's it. We manufacture in small batches, and we just, it's an operational nightmare. Yeah. But okay, I'll take on the nightmare so that our consumer doesn't have to suffer.
Because you
and
care.
So that's a big commitment of ours.
I never understood color. So yesterday, after my client had her baby, there was a croissant in the corner that someone had gotten for her. And she's like, I don't really want to have a croissant. I'm trying to eat clean, but I just had a baby. I'm going to have this croissant. And it was a pistachio croissant, and her husband opened it, and the inside was fluorescent green.
Oh, yeah.
And he goes, are pistachios this color? And I was like, no, honey, pistachios are not that color. He's like, why would they make this fluorescent green? So my question is, why do they put color in things? Like, do we really care that our Benadryl is bright pink and our Tylenol is red and yellow? Clearly it's branding. But other than that, why do you put color in stuff?
It boggles my mind. I don't know.
Get it.
Our supplements don't have a color.
Supplement is. It smells a certain way. It makes your hands smell a certain way. By the way, I have to tell you my favorite vitamin story. I was told that taking fish oil was good for you, so I started taking fish oil. And I have this bad habit, God rest her soul, from my grandma, where we hide things in our bra. So I was in a rush. I took my vitamins.
Oh my God.
There was like 4 vitamins. I put it in my bra. Forgot about it. Walking around in the afternoon, I'm like, why do I smell salmon? Like salmon. Why does everything smell like fish today? Like, I'm going crazy I'm like, why do I smell fish, for God's sake? I'm like, kids, did you eat fish? I'm like, to my husband, I'm like, why do you smell like fish? He's like, I don't smell like fish. That night I took the bra off, and the fish oil had melted.
Oh my God.
Into my bra. Okay. It was terrible. So all that to say, supplements don't look great. They don't smell great. Why are we so why color? And why sugar? Like, why does it have to be a little sweet on your tongue? Like, it's kind of mind-boggling to me.
It's kind of like our ultra-processed foods, right? I think either it's a cheap way to manufacture, it's making it more attractive. Like, people, I remember reading this article, I've never in my life understood, but Cheetos, they put all this yellow dye in, and people like the effect of the yellow on their fingers.
Yeah,
and
it's
now they're being forced to make them cleaner.
Yeah.
They're like still trying to find a natural way to make the dye on the fingers. I don't know. I think I think it's honestly a cop-out. And I don't also understand why the U.S. is so behind, because many countries have banned these colors.
For sure.
For
long time.
Yeah. And we know it's bad. And so
for sure. Something
being your own
funny.
advocate, supplements or food, read labels. You have to be your own advocate because there's no regulation in the supplement world.
Yeah.
Anyone with an idea can put something out there and it's toxic.
Absolutely.
And it's the same way. If you can't understand the ingredients on the back of your chips, you shouldn't eat it. And it's the same with supplements. If you see a paragraph of all these additives that you don't know what they mean, you shouldn't take it. And ultimately, we have to be our own advocate because there's so much confusion out there.
And I think to that point, that's why our supplements are regulated by like an external agency. So we do third-party testing where they look at the dosages to make sure that what's listed on the label is actually in the supplement. They look at heavy metal, they look at contamination, and it's very important.
And I love that. That's one of the things you have to look at when you're looking at a supplement is third-party testing.
Third-party testing. And you should, like ours are available on our website. If you enter the batch number, you can pull up the PDF of your third-party testing documents. But a lot of companies will say, we do third-party testing, but then they don't share it. It's very important to always ask and advocate for yourself. The same way people should advocate for themselves when they're navigating birth. They should when they're consuming products. It's very important.
Yeah, and the very basic things. I was with a client earlier this week who said, I switched to midwifery care because I asked my OB how much protein I should be eating. And she said, oh, you're getting enough protein. Don't worry about it. And so I had her do a little diet diary. I was like, do a diet diary for me just for 2 weeks. Let's see. Don't get obsessive. Just let's do a very baseline. She was getting 35 grams of protein a day. And when I told her she needed closer to 70, 75, she was blown away. She's like, nobody told me. Yeah. We know that is one of the ways to keep preeclampsia at bay. Yeah. We know that is diet, nutrition, stress.
The building blocks, the amino acids are like the building blocks of life, creating a new baby. We know that 1 out of 8 women don't get enough protein, and protein needs increase by 25% when women are pregnant. And that's actually why we created our latest product, which is a prenatal protein powder and collagen. Yeah,
tell me more.
One.
So how many grams of protein does it have?
It's 20 grams of protein with 1 scoop. It's whey protein, which is, the most superior.
What's done the research, the most research.
Exactly. Yeah. It has collagen and it has our full spectrum prenatal in it. So like for those who can't swallow pills once they get pregnant or have nausea, it's also the reason why we did a protein powder is because once you do get pregnant, it's kind of hard with like food aversions to like cook a steak or scramble eggs. So a protein shake is an easy way to get that protein and at least
bit of supplementation.
Get that like extra 20 grams of protein per day.
Yeah. As a non-pregnant premenopausal woman, I'm throwing in a shake now too because our needs are like pregnant women.
100%.
So like at the end of the day, when I really want a croissant and a coffee, it's like maybe I should have my protein shake.
Exactly.
But it's not always easy to get that 80 to 100.
Going back to trimester 0, you can't supplement yourself out of a bad diet. So like the foundation of it all is really a clean diet, balancing your blood sugar. There is research that shows that a Mediterranean diet for men and women with like focusing on lean protein, colorful fruits and veggies, nuts and seeds improves fertility for both men and women. And then we oftentimes talk about like, what are the things that are disrupting your fertility and what are the things that are boosting your fertility? So fertility boosting behaviors like finding gratitude, even when you're devastated and like life isn't going the way that you want it to go, there is always something to be grateful for. Another one is sleep. Sleep helps your body detoxify, helps your body restore itself. And so many of us are on our screens late at night and we're not prioritizing sleep. And I think that's like a big one for fertility. It's movement, but not moving too much, not overdoing it and all of a sudden like taking on CrossFit or HIIT training. Yeah. Really listening to your body. It's so important for both men and women. So there was a research done on men who walked over 4,000 steps a day and they saw increase in their testosterone. So we know all of these things things matter for fertility, and things that disrupt your fertility, the endocrine disrupting chemicals. We know that sperm counts have declined 50% in the last 50 years.
50%.
50%.
Oof.
And some researchers like Dr. Shauna Swan tie that decline to plastics in our environment. And so again, we can't control everything, but we can control what we buy, what we have in our house. You don't have to be like OCD about it, because that's going to create
actually
more
worse.
stress.
Yeah, for sure.
But just being mindful about what you're putting on your body, what you're putting in your body, I think that could take people far.
I love how at the beginning, you talked about making events for Nike and preparing athletes for the best outcomes. I feel like we prepare for so much. You're so right. We prepare for so much. And when it comes to pregnancy, it's just expected that we do it. When it comes to motherhood, it's expected that we do it. And when it comes to labor and delivery, it's like, all right, well, you'll be fine, right? As I said. And on the other side of it, I think about that horrible, I was actually going to do a little meme about it. There's just some people who, when they hear someone wants to do an unmedicated birth and they're going through it, right? They're going through the contractions. They will say to that person, there's no gold medals for natural childbirth. Where did that even come from? It's so horrible. It's like watching someone train for a marathon and being like, there's no gold medals for finishing a marathon. Watching someone study for whatever, the MCAT or the LSAT or the accounting boards and being like, there's no gold medals for passing. Who does that? So
I was told that in my first
you were
birth.
not.
I was.
Oh my gosh. Tell me more. Tell me about your first birth,
so
actually.
my first birth, obviously.
Good segue.
Yeah. Due to the loss, I was obviously a high stress individual already.
Yeah.
Every visit, everything was very scary. Like, rightly so, right? So when it came to birth, I also had an acupuncturist who was our doula. We both used the same one for our first birth, and she was great. She was there. And so my goal, obviously now learning more about the wellness space, I did want to try to do it unmedicated, like many of us do. And we know a plan is just a plan. By the way, I heard the best thing and I wanted to share it. And I don't remember who told me. Maybe it was you.
Oh.
Did you tell me about the wish list versus...
Yes.
You changed my life because I've used this analogy so many times. So I'm going to quote you, Atusa. But when you make it a wish list, okay, if it happens, great. But because we're all, like, at least me, type A and a plan, I thought I have a plan.
To type A at all. I don't know what
you don't know what I'm talking about.
No,
I'll take you for coffee and I'll explain the way we think.
Yeah.
But I think I had a plan. And in my head, up until this, you don't have kids. Everything you do is based on a plan and it's your way or the highway. And so had a plan, went into that birth. And literally before I was even in pain, they said those exact words. And they said, just let us know. And every time they saw that I was getting uncomfortable, are you ready for an epidural? It was like literally every time they came in the room. And I don't blame them. I think they're doing what they're taught.
They're offering what
and
they have.
didn't want me to be in pain. But I'm like, I'm here to win. And lo and behold, I did everything I could. Acupuncture, she was massaging me. I moved around, but my body couldn't relax. And so it took me like being in tears saying, okay, I'm ready. And once I got the epidural, I got to 10 centimeters. And so that ended up being my journey, which is totally fine. But the psychological part of every time them coming in, asking me and telling me, I don't need to be a hero. They literally said, you don't need to be a hero.
I don't hear it anywhere else except in the birth room.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Or sometimes I hear it with breastfeeding, which I can understand it a little bit more. Like there's no heroes in breastfeeding, or there's no gold medal for breastfeeding.
I was told by that. Why are you struggling? Just give her formula. I was told by my in-laws, why are you breastfeeding so much? Just like it was like played down. Meanwhile, I was so proud and I wasn't willing to give up. And I did breastfeed both of my girls for almost a year and a half for each of them, which for me, having a corporate job and pumping at work, it was a big accomplishment, but I was determined and no one could get in my way. People would make fun of me because I rolled into work every day with like the pump, the cleaning supply. Yeah. And they're like, they called me the bag lady because I had like so many bags.
The hands-free pump.
Oh yeah.
This is like,
and it was before the Nike office even had a nursing room. So I literally bought a shower curtain for my glass door office. That's where I had to pump.
You created your own?
I created my own pumping room, which was my office with a shower curtain. And they knew if my curtain was drawn, no one would come in.
I'm sorry. How old are your children?
8 and 4.
Okay, so let's say with your 8-year-old,
It was the 8-year-old,
Nike
yeah.
did not have. Sorry, Nike, I have to talk about this.
Yeah.
Nike did not have a pumping office.
No, I would either go in the bathroom or do it in my office.
I'm sorry. If you would have said this was 30 years ago, 40 years ago, I would have been like, okay, well, things are changing. But
Their new office does. They're now in Playa Vista, and they have a beautiful room. I was like, gosh, I wish I had this when I was there. So they have. It took too long, and it was embarrassing, and it was like kind of shameful for me that like there was nowhere I felt welcome, and I had to put my milk in the fridge with everyone's lunch, and there was like so much like unspoken trauma there, having the pump out on my desk when my male coworkers would come in for a meeting. I'm sure it made them uncomfortable too, but like I was very open about it because there was no other way to be. And I had like a team of 60 people at this point. So I had 15 direct reports and 60 people on my team. And I was there was no other option, but I wasn't also going to give up. So many people along the journey are like, why are you still pumping? Or I was determined. So that's same to the point of the epidural. In that case, I didn't win the battle. And it kind of was a good precursor to having kids because as much as I planned with my first, she was colicky. She didn't like sleeping. There was a lot of things.
She didn't like sleeping.
She didn't like sleeping like her father.
None of them like sleeping, just FYI.
But she still doesn't appreciate it as much as I love sleep.
Right,
but she's an early riser like her dad. And I don't know, it was a good prereq to say everything is a wish list.
Absolutely. And then there's the complete opposite of that, where in my case, I didn't plan at all. Like I took like a hospital class. I barely paid attention. I was 19. I was like, whatever. They told me to take this. I take this. I didn't even understand half the things she was saying.
Totally.
It was so like my body wasn't in it. My mind wasn't in it. And so afterwards, I was upset because I was like, I should have planned better. And that's how I got here was I was like, then I read the books on breastfeeding that talked about natural childbirth and doulas and how do you get a doula. So I got there the other way. So I think both ways can be traumatic. It's like, I'm the kind of person that likes to have the knowledge, but then we almost have to, someone told me this analogy, which I thought was great, was it's like washing your hands with a bar of soap. If you hold on to it so tight, you're going to lose it because it's going to like go through your fingers. And if you don't hold on to it tight enough, it's going to fall through your hands. So you have the information and you just, you hold it gently as you go through the motions, right? Instead of like, this is how it's going to be no matter what. And then you lose it and you're devastated. You're like, where's my soap? Or I don't know, we'll figure it out, whatever. And then the soap goes down the drain. You're like, wait, what? No one told me I could hold it tighter, so it's that balance that I think we're so inundated with information on I can feel my heart rate and my blood pressure rise when I'm scrolling on social.
Oh yeah.
All of a sudden I just feel an uptick, which I'm actually not on it very much for that reason. So we're inundated with things we should do, could have done, maybe will do, regret, remorse, forward thinking, futurizing, fear, panic, anxiety. Good luck getting pregnant.
But also these like super perfect examples or like what's shown as like perfect of like these protocols. Everybody now has a protocol, like this biohacker, that biohacker.
For sure.
And we actually just talked about this. We had an event for our protein powder launch and, Max Lugavere, Mona Sharma were on our panel and they were talking about how, in this age of social media, people think that they're like everything needs to be protocolized and and it's like, we just have to like think more simple and just more, empower yourself, right? Like the soap, you do the work, you do what you can to improve your fertility, but you can't control it. Going into pregnancy, if you go into it knowing you did your best and your partner did their best, that's it. Then you let go. Yeah. And same with birth. In my case, I had my first birth. I had an amazing OB, Dr. Suzanne Gilbert-Glynns, and she had a death in her family. And so she couldn't be at my birth. And of course I was like disappointed. And then what happened is I pushed for 6 hours. Eden was head up and I ended up getting Dr. Ruth Kusenauer, who pulled her out with forceps. And my OB said to me, if I was here, I would have done a C-section because I don't know how to deliver with forceps. And so that was, that was kind of like from the divine, when you think about it, because, that was one of my goals, not to have a C-section. So it's kind of like I love that soap analogy. I think it's like
a good analogy.
So good.
Yeah.
You do the work.
Yeah.
You do your homework, but then you have to let go.
Absolutely. I think someone it was about, they used it in the instance of raising children, that if you hold on to them so tight, they slip through because they're like, you're holding on too tight. And if you don't give them enough direction, then they fall through. So I've been using that in other areas, because you can study for your whatever exam. Once you're done with the studying, you got to just take a deep breath and be like, all right, maybe on that day you have a really good day and you get through those questions, and maybe, there's some energy that's coming to you from somewhere and you do great. Or maybe on that day you end up needing to go to the bathroom 6 times in the middle of the test, and you had no idea that was going to happen to your belly that day. I mean, who knows? It's one of those things. My dear friend of mine had 1 egg. They told her she had very low egg numbers. They had 1, and the doctor called her. They're like, you have 1. Like, the odds of you getting pregnant are very, very slim. She's like, 1 is better than none. Mm-hmm. I'm not worried about it. So, twins.
Wow.
With 1 egg.
Wow.
And they had told her it's like almost
the power of her mentality.
The power of her mentality. She's like, 1's better than none. Like, great. She's like, when he called and said it was 1, I was having a party. He was like delivering really sad news, and I was having a party. So it's that framing of the gratitude that you talk about.
Totally.
Tell me, how do you keep your friendship? How do you keep balance? How do you run a corporation? Here's a big question. What did you learn from Nike that you're not doing?
First of all, we learned a lot from Nike that we are doing.
Correct. Yeah. Oh, that was my next question, actually.
I worked at Nike for 7 years between Nike and Hurley, and I did some work with like Nike affiliates like Converse. And I learned so much, and Vida did too, about brand experiences, about over-delivering for the consumer, about beautiful brand packaging. And so that was like when we started working on WeNatal, that came like second nature to us.
Totally.
The other thing that comes second nature to us is working around the clock 24/7.
Yeah.
And
that's in your DNA.
Yeah. That's in the DNA, but also coming from corporate, it's kind of like oftentimes I say to Vida, like, you could say no, like you don't. And she's like, I have to like undo this programming. Sure. Like last week I volunteered at my daughter's class. She's 4, and I taught her and her friends how to make smoothies. And I called Vida and I said, Vida, that was an hour out of my day. And it was so rewarding, and we're so busy at work. And I said, you should do that. And she's like, I just need to like unprogram that like feeling of like, I always need to be on and I need to work all day long. And it's like, we're running our business now. We could do it how we want to do it. And this is how we want to do it. And all of our team members have kids, and we tell them like, you should be there at your kids' like school thing. You should, we know that the work will get done when it will get done. So I will say that's like one thing. And like the other big thing, at least for me, is practicing what we preach. I think, at Nike, one big reason why I left Nike was I just felt like they were really great at footwear and apparel and really smart about building brands. But going into Nike, I thought it was going to be a health and wellness company. And it wasn't. It was the opposite of that. There wasn't clean eating. There wasn't like focus on movement. The focus was working 24/7. And listen, I'm grateful that I had that experience, gave me like an amazing foundation. But also when we created WeNatal, we knew that we're creating a health and wellness company. And so we integrate that with our work. We gift our team members Aura rings. We talk about sleep. We talk about movement. All of our, team meetings are all like around like healthy things. Wow. I would say like we practice what we preach. Totally. For sure.
Yeah, very similar. And I was there 20 years. So why the unwiring? I mean, I just left this calendar year.
Wow.
And
I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
I thought it was way before.
No. She was doing double for 3 years.
Yeah. So when we incepted this brand, we couldn't like we couldn't look back, and I knew I had to give in, but Ronit took the big jump and left her job just to do this full time, and I was doing it where I could to support her. But we've learned so much from that place, that people make the world go round, that relationships over business. I only took care of people, and I always assumed the work would get done, and we had incredible experiences, events. And ultimately, I learned from some of the best bosses in the world and some that I didn't admire. And I learned my own managerial style.
How not to be how not to do that. Absolutely.
And what we bring to WeNatal every day, how we manage agencies or freelancers, or how the work gets done is really by investing in people. And so that's, I'll always say, it's people over the work. And yeah, I mean, we literally started this from a true labor of love, and now the impact, we are so excited. Can't wait for that tens of thousands to be in the millions that we've supported.
It's coming.
It's coming. And nothing has brought us more gratitude than hearing these stories. And very similar to what you just said, like about that mentality shift. We have countless examples. Cassie comes to mind, but literally was told, 13 to 14 rounds of assisted reproductive technologies. None of it worked until her doctor said, maybe as a last resort, you should try diet, education.
As a last resort.
Exactly. And we're here to say, please make that the first option.
Yeah.
Found WeNatal, had a healthy baby girl, Emma. And even round 2, when she thought IVF was her only option, because that's what she was told, once she actually took a break after another failed attempt, she had her son naturally. And so there is so much to the power of the mind, de-stressing, knowing your body could do it. Ronit was told she had a low AMH, and she never let that get in her way. She took that as one point of data and put it to the side. So I can share thousands of examples with you, but the mental state is so important. So taking care of your mind and body together is the best gift we can give you.
What do you do with the non-believers? People who are like, Bora Baba, it's a supplement. Or Bora Baba is a very, how is this? Bora Baba is like a very dismissive Persian term for give me a break.
Yeah. Like it's just expensive urine.
Oh,
we hear those from some people.
Yeah.
Some doctors will say that, or some doctors will say take any prenatal. They're all the same.
Right.
Just make sure it has folic acid in it. And, for us, those are, we talked right before we started about this OBGYN here in Los Angeles, Dr. Daniel Nico. He's so open-minded, open to learn. Those OBs, they vibe with us. We share with them. And there are other doctors and OBs that are just maybe old school, or they don't understand the power of these nutrients, and they're powerful.
Absolutely.
Our prenatal has 400 milligrams of choline. Choline is critical for baby brain development.
Absolutely.
When you're breastfeeding, the choline is critical.
Helps labor.
Yes,
helps the uterus.
You want a smart child with, and I'm not here to say if you take 400 milligrams of choline, your baby's IQ will be X, Y, and Z.
Einstein, yeah.
But why not? You know what I mean? There's so much data to support the power of these nutrients. And so for us, we share our stories, we share customer stories. We've had so many men take our prenatal and then do a sperm test before and after, and have all of their parameters increase. And
love it.
And by the way, we also hear from people anecdotally, all of a sudden, I'm starting to feel better.
Yeah.
Because fertility and health go hand in hand.
Yeah.
And so when you're improving your fertility, you're improving your health, and vice versa.
Absolutely.
So why not be on a high quality multivitamin? You literally have nothing to lose.
I love it. And I feel just so much as we've lost that traditional generation to generation wisdom of birth and pregnancy and midwifery and things that we eat, in that we've lost the nutrition knowledge. Mm-hmm. So there is a woman I know who's all of her paternal line are midwives, all of them. And now I think her grandmother doesn't deliver babies, but she actually makes foods that are to support fertility and to support pregnancy and to support the postpartum period. So she makes halva, which is a Iranian
halva.
delicacy.
Yeah, delicious.
It's not the same halva as like sesame seed paste.
yeah,
It's like
it's
a
like
Persian
dates.
halva. It's with dates and coke. I mean, it's got, but she also throws in midwifery secret herbs from her ancestry, which
it.
were all midwives. Their last name is like something midwife, like literally
Wow.
that's their Farsi last name. And so that was handed down, right? We knew that, oh, she's having a little bit of a hard time. Let me make halva for her husband. They did that back in the day. Right. I know that she had a difficult pregnancy or a difficult birth. Let me make a halva that is good for her blood loss for her postpartum period.
My mother-in-law made me one.
You see, this is the wisdom of our ancestors that we're losing. And
agree.
so I love that you're bringing back that knowledge in the year 2025, because we're not sitting at home making halva, most of us. I mean, your grandma is her grandma is, and hopefully we can learn some of those recipes, but it's not only on the woman.
Yeah.
And so much responsibility is on the woman, but it takes a sperm and an egg to conceive. And so both parts have to be taken care of. Thank you for being my guests. I'm so happy that you came, and thank you again for your time. I can't wait to see millions and millions and millions of WeNatal babies be born.
We could talk to you for hours.
Sharon, we need a part A, B, and C. Tell me where we can find you.
Our website is WeNatal.com. And on social, we're at we_natal. To your community, DM us. We respond to every single DM. I will oftentimes send a voice note if someone is like struggling or something. I get on phone with people. So please reach out to us. And then we have a special offer for your community. We have an epic magnesium that we're giving out for free to your community when they use your link. The link is wenatal.com/mamatusa.
I'm so generous. Thank you so much.
Of course.
What kind of magnesium is it?
It's a combination of 4 types of magnesium.
Whoa.
So it helps support sleep, digestion. The testimonials we get on our magnesium is incredible. Everybody needs a magnesium.
Thank you. And everyone needs a Ronit and Vita. Thank you for being my guest.
Thank you.
Mama Tusa is hosted by me, Atusa Benji, and produced and edited by Josh Stretton Carlson. Our theme music is composed by Mehri Lalazarian. If you'd like to support the show, please follow and review us on Spotify and Apple, or subscribe and like us on YouTube. This show is for informational purposes only and is not intended to be medical advice. Always consult with your healthcare provider when making medical decisions. See you next Tuesday.